Welcome to the ShadowVerse Chronicles original story called The Timekeeper.
Prologue. Time slips through our fingers like sand, each grain a moment never to be reclaimed. We try to hold on with photographs, videos, mementos, but the essence always escapes, leaving only pale shadows of what was. But what if you could capture time itself? Not just the image or the sound, but the very feeling of a moment. The joy of a first kiss, the triumph of a hard-won victory, the quiet peace of a perfect sunset. What if you could bottle those instants, keep them forever? And what if, in doing so, you stole them from those who lived them? In a city much like any other, on a street corner you might have passed 100 times, a man makes such a discovery. He doesn't mean to. He doesn't understand what's happening at first. But once he knows, once he feels the rush of a stolen moment coursing through him, filling the empty spaces in his soul, well, wouldn't you be tempted? Time is precious. Time is fleeting. Time is there for the taking. All you need to do is reach out and grab it.
Part 1.
Marcus hunches over his desk, bathed in the cold glow of multiple screens. Numbers flicker and dance, a ceaseless stream of data that means everything and nothing. His fingers fly across the keyboard, inputting variables, tweaking algorithms. The room around him fades into a blur of takeout containers and unwashed coffee mugs. A notification pings. Marcus blinks, the outside world intruding. He glances at his watch. 6:47 p.m. When did the sun set? He stands, joints cracking in protest, and shuffles to the window. The street below teems with life. A couple strolls hand in hand, laughing at some private joke. The woman throws her head back, joy etched on her face. Something stirs in Marcus's chest, an echo of an emotion long forgotten. His fingertips tingle. The sensation builds, a pins and needles rush that races up his arms. The air around his hands shimmer, reality bending like heat waves off summer asphalt. Marcus gasps, stumbling back from the window. In his palm, a tiny globe of light pulses. Within it, he sees the couple, their laughter frozen in a perfect moment of happiness. "What the?" Marcus whispers, his voice cracking from disuse. The globe winks out of existence. The tingling fades. Marcus presses his forehead against the cool glass of the window, heart racing. The couple is gone, the street empty save for a stray cat prowling the gutter. Did he imagine it? A hallucination born of too much caffeine and too little sleep? Marcus's gaze darts around his apartment, landing on a potted plant withering on the windowsill. A sparrow alights on the rim, cocking its head curiously. Without thinking, Marcus reaches out. The tingling returns. Reality bends. A globe of light coalesces in his palm, the bird trapped within like an insect in amber. Marcus brings it close to his face, studying every feather, every glint in its beady eye. A laugh bubbles up from his chest, equal parts wonder and terror. He opens his hand, and the globe dissipates. The sparrow chirps indignantly and flutters away. Marcus stumbles to his desk, scattering papers as he scrabbles for a notebook. His pen flies across the page, documenting every sensation, every detail of what just happened. His mind races. What is this? How is it possible? More importantly, can he do it again? The next day finds Marcus in the park, his eyes darting from person to person like a starving man at a buffet. A child's laughter rings out. Marcus's head snaps toward the sound, his fingers curling reflexively. The tingling begins. A young girl on a swing pumps her legs, soaring higher and higher. Her face splits in a gap-toothed grin as she reaches the apex. Marcus focuses, feeling the air thicken around his outstretched hand. The globe forms, trapping the girl's joy in perpetuity. The real girl slows, a look of confusion crossing her face. She glances around, as if she's forgotten why she's on the swing in the first place. Marcus clutches the glowing orb to his chest, his heart pounding. He hurries home, slamming the door behind him. In the safety of his apartment, he opens his hand. The girl's laughter fills the room, pure and bright. Marcus closes his eyes, letting the stolen moment wash over him. For the first time in years, he feels something. The emptiness inside him recedes, if only for a moment. It's not enough. Days blur together. Marcus's fingers constantly tingle, his eyes always searching for the next moment to capture. A couple's first kiss. A runner's triumph as they cross a finish line. A busker's pride at a well-earned applause. Each stolen moment fills him with a rush more potent than any drug. But the high fades faster each time, leaving him hollow and craving more. Then he sees her. The bride stands on the steps of the church, radiant in white. She hasn't seen her groom yet. That perfect moment of love and anticipation is still to come. Marcus's mouth goes dry. His hands shake with need. He edges closer, elbowing past guests and photographers. The bride turns. Her eyes meet those of her soon-to-be husband. Marcus lunges forward, his hand outstretched. The world bends. Light coalesces. The bride's face goes slack, joy and recognition draining away like water down a storm drain. The groom rushes forward, concern etched on his features. But Marcus is already gone, clutching his prize to his chest as he runs. He doesn't stop until he's back in his apartment. Door locked, curtains drawn. With trembling hands, he opens his palm. The bride's face floats before him, a universe of love captured in her eyes. Marcus drinks it in, feeling more alive than he has in decades. In that moment, he knows he'll never stop. He can't. The real world fades away, insignificant compared to the stolen moments he now possesses. Marcus smiles, his face illuminated by the soft glow of captured time. He doesn't notice the shadows growing longer in the corners of his room, or the way the air seems to thicken with each breath. All that matters are the moments and the endless hunger for more.
Part 2.
Marcus prowls the night-shrouded streets, his eyes fever-bright and hungry. Stubble darkens his jaw, his clothes hang loose on his frame. He hasn't eaten real food in days. He doesn't need to. The stolen moments sustain him, a diet of pure emotion and experience. A cry pierces the air. Marcus's head snaps toward the sound, nostrils flaring like a predator catching a scent. In the park across the street, a man cradles a newborn, tears of joy streaming down his face. Marcus's fingers twitch. He steps off the curb. A car horn blares. Tires screech. Marcus barely notices, too focused on his prey. He reaches the edge of the park, hand already rising. The new father looks up, eyes widening at the sight of the disheveled stranger approaching. He clutches his baby closer. "Can I help you?" Marcus doesn't answer. Can't answer. The tingling in his fingertips has become a roar, drowning out all reason. He lunges forward. The world bends. Light flares. The father's face goes slack, joy replaced by confusion and loss. The baby wails, a thin, reedy sound that cuts through the night. Marcus stumbles away, the stolen moment clutched to his chest. He doesn't see the father sink to his knees, doesn't hear the anguished cry that follows him into the darkness. All he can focus on is the warm glow in his hands, the rush of secondhand joy flooding his system. For a moment, a flicker of doubt crosses his mind, a whisper that maybe, just maybe, he's gone too far. But then he opens his hand, letting the captured moment wash over him, and all doubts are swept away in a tide of borrowed bliss. Dawn finds Marcus huddled in an alley, shaking and hollow. The high has faded, leaving him emptier than ever. He needs more. Always more. A scent cuts through the haze of his addiction. Coffee, rich and inviting. Marcus looks up, blinking in the harsh morning light. Across the street, a small cafe has opened its doors. Warmth spills out onto the sidewalk, a stark contrast to the chill gray of the city around it. Marcus staggers to his feet. One more. Just one more moment, and then he'll stop. He promises himself this, even as he knows it's a lie. The bell above the door chimes as he enters. The cafe is cozy, mismatched furniture and local art, creating an atmosphere of lived-in comfort. Behind the counter, a woman looks up and smiles. "Good morning. What can I get for you?" Marcus freezes. The woman, her name tag reads Elena, radiates a warmth and genuine kindness that he hasn't encountered in... he can't remember how long. His hand rises, fingers splayed, ready to capture this moment of welcome and make it his own. Nothing happens. No tingling, no bending of reality. Elena's smile doesn't falter, doesn't drain away into confusion. She simply waits, head tilted slightly in friendly inquiry. Marcus's voice cracks. When was the last time he spoke to another person? Coffee. Black. Please. Elena nods and turns to the espresso machine. Marcus slumps into a chair, mind reeling. Why couldn't he take her moment? What makes her different? "Here you go," Elena says, placing a steaming mug in front of him. "You look like you could use it." "Rough night?" Marcus wraps his hands around the mug, savoring the warmth. "Rough. Everything," he mumbles. Elena's eyes soften with sympathy. Not pity, Marcus notes. Genuine concern. "Well, you're welcome to stay as long as you need. Sometimes a quiet place and a hot drink can make all the difference." As she turns away, Marcus feels something stir in his chest, an emotion he doesn't immediately recognize. It takes him a moment to place it. Gratitude. Real, unfiltered by stolen moments or artificial highs. Days pass. Marcus becomes a regular at the cafe. He shaves, finds clean clothes. The shakes subside. He still feels the urge to steal moments, but it's manageable here. Elena's presence acts as a buffer, a reminder of something he'd almost forgotten. Genuine human connection. They talk. Not much at first. Marcus is out of practice, and Elena seems to sense his need for space. But gradually, conversations stretch from minutes to hours. Marcus finds himself sharing snippets of his life, carefully edited to omit his strange ability. Elena listens, really listens, in a way no one has in years. For the first time in longer than he can remember, Marcus feels seen, but the hunger never truly fades. One afternoon, a young couple enters the cafe. They're giddy with new love, lost in each other's eyes. Marcus's fingers begin to tingle. He grits his teeth, fighting the urge to steal their joy. "Marcus?" Elena's voice cuts through his internal struggle. "Could you give me a hand with these cups?" He blinks, the moment broken. The couple settles at a table, blissfully unaware of how close they came to losing a precious memory. Marcus nods shakily and stands to help Elena. As they work side by side, Elena glances at him. "You know," she says softly, "I've noticed something about you, Marcus. Sometimes when you look at people, it's like you're trying to take something from them. But when you look at me, it's different. Why is that?" Marcus freezes, a cup slipping from his suddenly numb fingers. It shatters on the floor, the sound like a gunshot in the quiet cafe. Elena jumps, startled by his reaction. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispers. "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be here. I'm not safe." He turns to flee, but Elena's hand on his arm stops him. Her touch is gentle but firm. "Marcus," she says, her voice low and intense. "What's going on? Please, talk to me." And suddenly, like a dam breaking. Words pour out of Marcus. He tells her everything. The accidental discovery of his ability, the rush of stealing moments, the growing addiction that consumed his life. He speaks of the emptiness, the hunger that's never satisfied, the lives he's damaged in his relentless pursuit of other people's joy. As he talks, Marcus waits for the revulsion, the fear, the rejection. But Elena just listens, her expression a mix of disbelief and deep, sorrowful understanding. When he finally falls silent, emotionally spent, Elena squeezes his arm gently. "Oh, Marcus," she says softly. "Don't you see? You've been so busy collecting other people's moments that you've forgotten to live your own." Her words strike him like a physical blow. Marcus looks around the cafe, seeing it with new eyes. Every interaction, every smile, every shared moment between Elena and her customers. These are the real treasures, not the stolen instants he's hoarded. "I want to stop," he whispers, his voice raw. "I need to stop, but I don't know if I can." Elena's eyes are firm, but kind. "You can," she says. "But you have to make a choice, Marcus. You can keep stealing moments, keep hiding from real connections, or you can stay here with me and learn to live again. Really live, but you can't do both." Marcus closes his eyes, feeling tears slip down his cheeks. When he opens them again, his decision is made. "Help me," he says simply. Elena nods, a small smile touching her lips. "Always," she replies. And in that moment, fragile but full of possibility, Marcus feels the first stirrings of hope.
Part 3.
Marcus stands behind the cafe counter, carefully tamping down espresso grounds. His hand shakes slightly, but less than yesterday, less than the day before. Elena works beside him, her movements graceful and sure. She hums softly, the sound a soothing counterpoint to the cafe's gentle bustle. A customer approaches. Marcus tenses, fingers tingling with old habit. But he takes a deep breath, focuses on the task at hand. He makes the drink, smiles. The moment passes. Elena touches his arm gently. "You're doing great," she murmurs. Marcus nods, not trusting his voice. The craving still gnaws at him, a constant ache in his bones. But here, in this warm space filled with the scent of coffee and the low murmur of conversation, it's manageable. Most days. The bell above the door chimes. Marcus looks up, his customary greeting dying on his lips. The world seems to tilt sideways, reality bending like a funhouse mirror. A young man enters the cafe. He's in his early 20s, gangly and unsure. His eyes dart nervously around the room. With a jolt of shocked recognition, Marcus realizes he's looking at himself, his younger self. "Marcus?" Elena's voice sounds distant, underwater. "What's wrong?" He can't answer. Can't tear his eyes away from this impossibility standing before him. The younger Marcus approaches the counter, oblivious to the older version's distress. Could I get a job application?" young Marcus asks, his voice cracking slightly. Time stretches like taffy. In this moment, Marcus remembers. This was the day he almost turned his life around, almost found purpose and connection, but he had walked out, too afraid of rejection, too comfortable in his isolation. That decision had set him on the path that led to his ability, to his addiction, to all the pain he'd caused. Marcus's fingers tingle violently. The air thickens, reality rippling around him. He could take this moment, change everything, erase years of loneliness and guilt with a single act. "Marcus, don't!" Elena's voice cuts through the haze. She grips his arm, anchoring him to the present. "This isn't the way. You can't change the past. You have to choose now." The younger Marcus frowns, confused by their strange behavior. Is this a bad time? I can come back? No! Both versions of Marcus speak simultaneously. The older Marcus takes a shuddering breath. No, he says again, softer. Now is perfect. Let me get you that application. He turns away, hand trembling as he reaches for the form. When he turns back, the younger version of himself is gone. The cafe seems normal, undistorted, but the tingling in Marcus's fingers has become a roar, drowning out all other sensation. Elena, he gasps. I need to. She nods, understanding in her eyes. Go. I'll watch the shop. But Marcus, come back to me. Marcus stumbles out of the cafe. The street outside swirls and shifts, buildings stretching and contracting like breathing things. He breaks into a run, not sure where he's going, only knowing he needs to get away before he does something unforgivable. The world bends, twists, shatters. Marcus falls. He lands in a space that isn't a space. An endless void surrounds him, featureless yet somehow oppressive. And everywhere, floating like soap bubbles, are his stolen moments. Here, a child's laughter. There, a lover's kiss. The father with his newborn, the bride seeing her groom. Hundreds, thousands of moments, each glowing with captured emotion. Marcus reaches for one, but his hand passes through it. He's surrounded by joy, love, triumph, and he can touch none of it. Hello? His voice doesn't echo, doesn't even seem to travel beyond his lips. Is anyone there? In answer, shapes coalesce from the void, ghostly figures, each achingly familiar. The bride, the father, the little girl on the swing, all those he's stolen from, watching him with hollow eyes. I'm sorry, Marcus whispers. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. I didn't know. But you did. The voice comes from everywhere and nowhere. You knew you were taking something precious. You just didn't care. The figures press closer. Marcus backs away, but there's nowhere to go. Please, he begs. I want to make it right. I want to give it all back. Just tell me how. You can't. This voice is different, warm, familiar. Marcus turns to see Elena standing amid the ghostly crowd. The past is the past, Marcus. You can't change it. You can only choose what to do now. I don't understand. What choice do I have? I'm trapped here. Elena smiles sadly. Are you? Look closer. Marcus blinks. The void shimmers. He catches glimpses of the cafe, of the real world beyond this strange liminal space. It's there, tantalizingly close. All he has to do is reach out and... No. Marcus pulls his hand back. He looks at the stolen moments floating around him, at the faces of those he's wronged. I can't go back, he says softly. Not until I've made this right. He turns to the assembled figures. I can't undo what I've done, but I can release you. All of you. He takes a deep breath. And then I'll take your place. A life for a life. A self for a self. It's the only way to balance the scales. Marcus, no! Elena reaches for him, but her hand passes through his arm. That's not the answer. You can't punish yourself forever. That's just another way of running from life. Marcus shakes his head. Then what? What can I possibly do to make this right? Elena's form flickers, growing faint. Live, she says, her voice fading. Really live. Create new moments. Share them freely. It's the only way to truly... Her voice disappears entirely, leaving the last word unspoken. Marcus stands alone in the void, surrounded by the glowing remnants of stolen time. He looks at his hands, remembering the constant tingling, the need to take and possess. Slowly, deliberately, he turns his palms outward. I release you, he whispers. Light explodes around him. The the captured moments burst like fireworks, filling the void with color and sound and pure, undiluted life. Marcus feels them rush through him, over him, a tide of restored time sweeping him away. He falls again. Or maybe he rises. Direction has no meaning here. Marcus opens his eyes. He's lying on the floor of the cafe. Elena kneels beside him, cradling his head in her lap. Her eyes are wet with tears, but she's smiling. "Welcome back," she says softly. Marcus sits up slowly, every muscle aching. The cafe is empty, sunset painting the walls in warm gold. "How long?" "A few hours." Elena helps him to his feet. "What happened? Where did you go?" Marcus looks at his hands. The ever-present tingling is gone. He feels normal, blessedly, terrifyingly normal. "I'm not sure," he says slowly, "but I think I'm finally here, really here." Elena's smile widens. She takes his hand, her touch grounding him in this moment, a real moment, unfiltered and imperfect and beautiful. "That's all that matters," she says. "Now let's get you some coffee." And then, well, we have all the time in the world to figure out what comes next. As Elena leads him to a table, Marcus glances out the window. For a moment, just a moment, he thinks he sees a faint shimmer in the air, like heat waves on a summer day. A last glimpse of what might have been, or what never was. Then it's gone, leaving only the present, leaving only now. Marcus takes a deep breath, tasting possibility on his tongue. He's ready to start collecting a new kind of moment, his own.
Thank you for joining the ShadowVerse Chronicles presentation of The Timekeeper, an original story from ShadowVerse Chronicles.